although you were admiring the trends, because you are going to see 10 different trends that we've devised for PlantLine as part of perhaps the first plant catwalk fashion show. Has anyone seen a plant catwalk fashion show before? If you have, don't tell me, but has anyone seen it? No, none of that made sense, did it? That's the beauty of the next hour. Okay, so we believe this is the first time it's been done. We wanted to show plants in a slightly different way, kind of dynamic. We wanted to break it down into different trends as well, kind of give you ideas of like how you can sell to your consumers in different ways, and picking up on how the market has moved on, you know, perhaps with sustainability, but also with modern gardens like urban jungles, patio cottage gardens as well, you know, shorter perennials, shorter shrubs that can give you that cottage garden look in the garden. So my name is Michael Perry, also known by Mr Plant Geek. So for some reason I felt I needed a pseudonym. Sounds a bit kinky. But anyway, I was working for Thompson Morgan for about 18 years, bringing through all the new plants. So kind of like Tom Tato, don't know if you heard of that, egg and chips plant. So always wanting something new, different and unusual. And I was doing a lot of the marketing, photography, kind of getting into the PR side of it as well. And for the last 8 years, I've been freelance, doing various different TV, content, writing, fashion shows as well, and basically throwing myself into situations. So kind of that is what we built here today for you. So you're going to see those 10 different trends. We're going to have a few fun and games as well, as you get to learn more about the company that is PlantLine, and you could win a hat. Or pad and pen. English viewers will be, I could be like checkbook and pen, blankety blank, you know? Yeah, cool, awesome, thank you. Right, okay, so we're going to kick off our first section, which is going to be spring excitement. Now these are items that you can buy almost straight away in order to transform your marketplace. So you've got things that are in bloom, you've also got things that are kind of really exciting and different for this time of year as well. So, I'm going to switch on the conveyor, you're going to love it. And we've also got we've got a special guest still to come. So we've got space for Anna Wintour from Vogue magazine on the front row. And we've also got Kumar is a paparazzi today. He's getting a few shots for the magazine. And Aneta is here doing the makeup on plants as we go along, because these plants still need preening as we move forward. And most of the pots you'll see are supported by Elho, which are a great company here down near Rotterdam. And they are using a lot of sustainable materials, recycling here and there, especially artificial turf is quite a movement for them. So our first selection of plants, we will go back and forth a little bit, is on the front, Lewisia. This is Lewisia Sunset Glow. Now the world of Lewisia has really changed in the last few years, because now we have types that you can almost use as bedding plants. Now that is very interesting, and this was really, she's here, okay. So this was really started off by the Elise series, which was an amazing introduction and really gives you this almost like 3 seasons of colour as well, because this Lewisia flowers so much earlier. It's got a gorgeous fluorescent colour as well, and very interesting for containers and window boxes as well, where you get the drainage that it requires. You've also got irisine is your first selection of foliage plants here. Now my grandma used to grow irisine. It's a really easy grow, colourful plant for indoors, but you can also grow this outdoors in summer containers as well. So get a bit inventive about how you mix up your containers outside. Maybe there's some houseplants that can be transformed to outside. Spider plants, Tradescantia seem obvious, but with irisine there's potential there. You've also got through decorum from a lion plant, is the grower, is the flower pot chrysanthemums. Now I think it's about time we put a bit more energy into chrysanthemums, just like we have with dahlias over the last few years. So I think the potential is going to come from these small pot types potentially. So here you've got the pom-pom type in its short form. So I think that is a lovely takeaway gift. I think that would do really well maybe for kids as well. Maybe buying kids plants is a nice way to get them into gardening. And then for your spring excitement, you've got a range of bulbs, which are also coming through decorum, so the usual rustic stuff that you see. But this particularly caught my eye in there is a mixture in a display as well, and that's nice zinc, which consumers love. And finally, from Denmark, you have a range of the tots, the little baby plants. And this is really where I started off my kind of like love of plants and house plants, as I went to the garden centre with my first bit of pocket money, and that is probably what I'm going to buy first of all. So that is a way to get your consumers when they're really, really young. Hoyas, Apicias, calafea, alacacia, a lot of rare things in there as well, which makes it so much more affordable for the consumer to start that new hobby. Also, at that size, really good for terrariums as well. So that is our first catwalk of spring excitement. We've got another batch coming out in just a short moment. We've got a great team behind who are loading up and doing all the preening, getting stuff into different outfits here and there. So I hope you're enjoying the show. We're hoping to give you a whole load of inspiration today, but remember there's so much more to see. There is also a trip to Hugeveen at 3 p.m. So you just need to meet out the front and they'll put you on the bus and you'll go and visit a grower so you can see behind the scenes, see what happens, get to know them a bit more. There's also going to be drinks throughout the day, coffee as well, but I wouldn't advise having Dutch coffee after 3 p.m. because it's pretty strong, okay? But I can see that many of you are already drinking wine, so I think you're very comfortable here. Also, there is a wardrobe area where I put together the curation of plants. So everything here is doubled up in the wardrobe area. So you see everything split into the different trends. So you can see those up close and get some nice photography of it, etc. But if you do put anything on Instagram, make sure that you tag PlantLine as well as myself, Mr_PlantLine. Thank you very much. But thank you for visiting us today. We're going to have a little look at a bit more spring excitement. So, what have we got to come? So a few more new, different and exclusive plants like curtain raisers. Here they come. The gin and tonic plant. This is a scratch and sniff opportunity. Have you tried that before? I'm looking at you. So the gin and tonic plant is this first one, and Annetta is going to bring that around so you can have a bit of a sniff of Ariostemon, which is a really, really nice plant to give nice sales in April, because there's not many shrubs that really flower April through May. It tends to be a bit of a barren time in the garden because we're mostly focusing on bulbs, tulips and daffodils, but this has a distinct fragrance when you rub the leaf of gin and tonics. This is Ariostemon. It's pretty hardy, and when I've seen it in full bloom, it is absolutely covered in blossoms too. So, next up we've got Pieris. And we're usually buying like silver leaf Pieris, the ones with the red tops, but this one, potentially a little bit more classy, is called Katsura. So that's worth looking out for too. And then you've got some Pittosporum. In the last few years, Bano Bay has become a very, very popular variety. It's a lovely glowing purple, isn't it? But I think what is nice about some of these Pittosporum is they are, and this is a trademark that I invented the other day, they're a self-shaping plant. So they just kind of have this nice shape. You don't really need to trim them if you don't want to. And I think like this kind of fits the bill nicely. And a nice alternative to box potentially as well. Finally, you've got that Edgeworthia, which doesn't look like much, but believe me, when those flowers come out in the next week or so, it is one of the most special winter fragrances too. This is your yellow Chrysanthemum, but you've also got Red Dragon, which is super special. So we're going to send spring excitement back into the wardrobe, and then we're going to bring out a few sustainable growing solutions, which will include a few different containers made of paper, and also we're going to look at a few wildflowers and peat-free items as well as some nice little new basket plants in a much smaller size, which is more cost effective for you guys. But it's time to have a miniature quiz. Oh God, I heard you. Oh God. Oh God, weeks putting this together, you come here and say, oh God. Right, okay, well, madam, where did you come from? Yeah, England? Okay, anyone further afield? Because if you are, you win a prize. No? London's not far enough for me. Scotland, how far up? In between Edinburgh and Glasgow, anyone further up here? Aberdeen, is that higher? This is like Price is Right, isn't it? Oh bloody hell, you're competitive. North of Aberdeen, what's that? Is that not Orkney? Okay, well you win then. I think the most suitable prize for you is a hat. Sorry. Okay, next section is Sustainable Growing Solutions. Flip the switch. So nice having the power over a switch, isn't it? I know it's only a conveyor belt, but little bits of power go to my head. Right, who's coming now? These are the adorables. These are the mini baskets I told you about. How cool are they? Look at that. Consumer is absolutely going to love that. You can see the displays over there. Really, really easy to put up. dinky, going to be a really nice price point as well, and very collectible. And despite that being such a lovely dwarf plant, actually quite distinctive varieties in there as well. They're not just your usual run-of-the-mill Transcantia and Pelea, very unique. Then, rolling up from there, you've got from Rhinebeek, you've got these paper pulp pots as well. Rhinebeek are here in the audience, I won't embarrass them by pointing them out though. And they are also offering a range of plants that are climate proof too, so more drought tolerant, more wildflowers in there, all grown in peat-free compost too. And one of their most exciting collaborations in recent years has been with the Kirkenhof Gardens, where they're transforming a small part of those gardens, not from the rainbow bulbs that you see, but to something a lot more sustainable and with lots more wild blooms, lots of ferns, euphorbia, and naturalized native varieties. Very exciting. If you get a chance at Kirkenhof in the spring, have a little look at that. Also the Senecio angel wings. As we know, anything with silver leaves reflects the sun. Automatically more drought tolerant. Grasses as well, ornamental grasses, tough, durable, not just drought tolerant, but also kid and football proof as well. Look at that. Perfect. And then finally, Viburnum Rock and Roller, which is, it might look faux, but it's a tough, glossy, new type of viburnum with the more attractive blooms as well. It's a Tinus variety, but I think really, really looks quite premium as well. I think that positively will shine on the garden centre bench. We're going to send sustainable back in, and next we're going to look at Britain's top houseplant. But first of all, how old is PlantLine? That is our quiz. We're here for their anniversary. I hope you've read the literature and you know the reason that you're here. How old is PlantLine? 25. Well done, madam. Wow. Would you like a hat or a pen and pad? Do you want to think about that for a minute or not? Okay, great. And what is your favourite plant? Okay, incorrect. Gerbras. Which ones? What about the gardenias, the hardy ones? Orange ones. Orange ones. Everyone's snobby about orange flowers, aren't they? Who's an orange flower snob? You put your hand up yourself. Just dissed your friend's choice of flowers. I don't like orange me. But you know what? I have to say, orange works very well with purple in the garden. Isn't that nice? And you know what I love orange in? A gladioli. It's quite unusual. There's not many out there. It's one called Orange Princess. Absolutely beautiful, honestly. There's a lot of breeding in gladioli. I think there's a lot to come. I think that is the next dahlia. Aside from the example that I said earlier. Right, Britain's next top houseplant. Here they come. What do you reckon you're going to see? Madonna's Vogue is here as well. Aloe vera? Maybe. There are some new ones from, what are they called? I can't remember the company now. But they don't deal with PlantLine, so I won't mention them. Annetta is breeding the Haworthia. This is from Decorum through Vinco, specialist in cacti and succulents. It's got a species name, but I think it should be called White Tiger. Don't you think it's a great name? At the front, we've got peace lilies. We've got variegated peace lilies because the consumer still has that thirst for new, different, unusual plants and rare plants. So now I'm going to give Kumar a heart attack. Are you ready for this? Euphorbia without thorns as well, which is much better for the consumer because it's not so dangerous. Look out for the ones from Denmark coming from Queen, which have got flowers that are almost double that size as well. Lovely series with red, pink and white. We've also got gloxinias. Who remembers gloxinias? My grandma used to grow those. Great plants, really lovely garden centre bench potential. Not a mail order product though. Look at those leaves. Primulas, Touch Me series. Remember in the 80s they used to give you a rash? A lot of things out there give you a rash, but not primulas now because this is the Touch Me series. And it's a trio. We first saw trios with plug plants in the last few years, but now they're doing it with houseplants like that, which gives the consumer something immediately more attractive. Then, and Netta's going to hand this round to just a few people, it is, have you seen this book, Fragrant Phalaenopsis? Part of the Sentient series. Give them a sniff. Giving Anna priority. Hard to please. Like you lot here. So it's a really gorgeous natural air freshener for indoors. And I think what it does, quite interestingly, is brings Phalaenopsis into more premium sales area as well. Like if we could use named Phalaenopsis, we could then give them the price value that they deserve and not made cheap like IKEA, you know, £3 orchids. Gorgeous, isn't it? Yeah. Really, really nice developments. That is Britain's next top houseplant. We've got another batch on the way. Lots of different houseplants coming through, lots of breeding, development, different types still being found in the wild, but also different hybridizations are happening. Big kind of movements in anthuriums, for example, a lot of the foliage types, Alocassia, Califea as well. Califea are a really great houseplant to have in your garden centre because they very often die for the consumer, so you can sell more of those. Yeah. Because they're bastards, aren't they? They really hate like being too wet, too dry. Like, what do they want? I would recommend a faux Califea, and anything else is real. But Alocasias are good. Colocassias, but obviously we need to remember they're dormant in the winter, which can make consumers panic a little bit here and there. So, but I think a lot of interest in new carnivorous plants these days as well. I don't know if anyone was at the Flora Holland Aalsmeer show. There's a new Venus flytrap with a kind of like double, it's almost like a deformed flower. It's almost like, it hasn't got any teeth anymore. It's quite gummy. It's really cool. It's called Zip. That's a really cool name actually, I've just realised. Zip. Because it can't catch insects, so it's purely decorative. When you explain it on paper, it sounds awful actually. But it is beautiful. I'll show you a picture afterwards. Right, next section of Britain's top houseplant is featuring terrariums. And this one at the front is from Diahove, and this actually lights up as well. And I think that's the next frontier for terrariums because the consumer is really going to enjoy a terrarium that lights up because give that different element as well. There's still big movement in terrariums, not just ready-made, but workshops as well. We're seeing a lot of workshops, not in traditional houseplant shops, but also at different kind of corporate events as well. So still continued interest in terrariums. Then we've got hydroponics coming through from Intense. You'll be able to see them here at the show. Califea, maybe don't go for that one, but the Monstera, that's really going to work, as is the Clusia, which is probably one of the best plants for growing hydroponically. And then injecting some new enthusiasm into Phalaenopsis there with the shape types, which consistently are a great gifting product too. So that is a little preview of a few next top houseplants for Britain and indeed Europe as well. I'm getting a really nice nod from this lady on the front row, so I know I'm doing a good job, thank you. Cool, so next up we are going to look at the birds and the bees is our next section, but it's time for a miniature quiz while we do a little reload out back, so what shall we play? How many staff? No, that's a bit dry, sorry. Guess the top selling plant of PlantLine. What? What? Photinia? Everyone hates Photinia, though. No, not Photinia.
Hydrangea Annabelle?
Not Hydrangea Annabelle, but very good guess. Prunus, no. Yes, indeed. Would you like a pad and pen, a hat, or nothing? Nothing? Alright, cool. I'll get a great aim. Okay, let's get the birds and the bees out, whether they're ready or not. Okay, so these are a few plants that are great for wildlife. Consumers starting to really become more aware of their environment around them. We need to build a garden that is good for us, but also good for the wildlife too. So you've got a range of plants here that are good for early pollinators. These are from Hoogeveen. You remember you can visit Hoogeveen on the trip today at 3 p.m. You've also got winter clematis, which are giving you that pollen in that different season, and also blackberries, which could be nice for the birds, right? English humour, it works here, right? And then alliums. Alliums, perfect for the bees, but a very different way to sell alliums. You might see that as premium, but I feel like it gives the consumer a bit more confidence in what they're going to grow. Still, people are quite nervous about planting bulbs. Don't even get me started on bare roots. But I like the way this is displayed, and you've got the typical giant ones, and obviously once they're planted in the garden, they are going to come back reliably year after year as well. So small selection of birds and the bees, and we've got another batch on the way too. But I think the consumer is really getting more aware of like their gardens, and a lot of people are actually starting to do away with lawns. I find that it's probably a better thing to kind of split your lawn in half and have half of it stays longer, half of it is a bit shorter. So you're really sharing your garden with the wildlife too. But I think the RHS in the UK did a great thing with the Plants for Pollinators label many years ago, which is maybe almost about 20 years ago. I think that was a little bit ahead of its time, to be honest. And I think now the time has come for consumers to recognise that, to see the goodness in plants. Of course, when you see a few berry making plants, they're great for birds. The more birds we have in our garden, the less slugs and snails we'll have. Fingers crossed we can grow hostas. By the way, have you seen that new red hosta? That's a microphone. I'll show it to you later. Right, clematis again, good for those pollinators. Lavender. This lavender isn't flowering, but it's quite nice to see a lavender clipped in this way. Maybe a nice alternative to a Christmas tree. Hellebores as well, very nice for those early pollinators. And the buddleia. Buddleia, consistently one of the plants that brings the most different species of butterfly into our gardens. And First Editions are doing a great job of promoting their range of specially selected plants across Europe and the world as well. So look out for them with Hydrangea Eclipse as well, the macrophylla type with the lovely dark leaves too. So that is a selection from Birds and the Bees. Our next section is going to be fancy foliage, but it is time for another irrelevant game. Anyone got a favourite Dutch food? Bitterballen. You don't win a prize for that, but well done. Anyone else? Yeah. Do what? I don't know what you said, but it sounds great. I really love filet American, which is like this raw meat that you have in a sandwich. We don't like raw stuff in UK, do we? No. We like stuff really, really well cooked, don't we? Like sprouts and stuff, yeah? Anyway, no prize that round. You didn't excite me enough. Right, fancy foliages next. Single catwalk, showing us the best of the new foliage plants that are coming through. First up, you got some scented pelargoniums. Now, they might seem a bit old-fashioned, but these are quite exciting for the consumer. And Annetta is going to bring these around and see if you can detect those fragrances. One is kind of lemony rose. The other one is purportedly orange. Purportedly a great word. There you go, sniff my lemon. Next plant on there is Agalanema. Now this is a pretty cool plant because you often see it grown in like shopping centres, in those kind of mixed planters that you kind of overlook. But it tells you a lot about this plant. You know that it really performs in a range of different conditions. It's fairly easy going. Next plant you got there is a Streptocarpus. Pretty turtle, great foliage plant too. Nice and felted, so quite drought tolerant. Part of the Gesneriad family, which I think is quite up and coming. We don't see enough with Streptocarpus, also Apicias as well. You'll see a lot of those on the Danish stand in the main hall. And Aphelandra, really nice, easy grow exotic as well. A few new ones there. And the Philodendrons. You didn't believe there were still more Philodendrons to release out there, but this one, I like that for his kind of rosette form as well. Really nice form there. And all displayed in those beautiful Elho containers from the Vibes Coupe series as well. Great colours, I love that dark turquoise, for example. So that is our fancy foliage section, giving you a bit of inspiration when it comes to the houseplants that we offer. You're very dynamic. And you've had the wine. So our next section is going to be the urban cottage garden, but it's time for another quiz. How many staff do you reckon there are at PlantLine? How do you know?
I spoke to Rome earlier.
Well, I'm glad you listened. Did you win a prize before? Oh, do you want to win a prize? Right, let's think of a question then. Pad and pen or hat? Hat, okay. These hats are very popular. Yeah. I bet you didn't bring a coat to Holland, did you? Do you know, I can't believe the amount of people who don't wear coats outside. You don't see it here, but you see it in UK a lot. You can't get cold. Right, okay, so our next section is going to be the urban cottage garden. So this is a range of patio plants, that kind of cottage garden vibes, because you know we've always like, you know what it's like being English? Everyone imagines that all of our gardens are like these beautiful cottage gardens. They don't realise that they're just a bit chintzy weheebies of gnomes. They don't realise. So I think because sometimes the typical cottage garden looks very out of reach to the usual consumer, because of course you need big wide borders, you need massive lupins, kind of all of that jazz. But actually last few years we've got a lot of shorter perennials that are really good for patio pots. So for example, have you ever seen the Delphinium, like the Highlander series? They are a cracking patio palm. You get Flowerhead after flowerhead, multi-branching as well. They're really worth looking out for. The Vina bonariensis, maybe look out for like the lollipop variety, which is shorter, more achievable for a patio pot. So actually, it's now possible to have a cottage garden look in a fraction of the space, and that applies to balconies, patios, but also to maybe smaller urban gardens as well, where there isn't that much space. In the last few years, I also got a bit obsessed with like New York planting style. And by that, I mean small, narrow plants, you know, like the Sambucus Black Tower. Small, narrow, Buddleia butterfly towers, because people haven't got as much space. Give them the same type of shrub as before, but in a small, narrow form. Make much more use of those small urban gardens. Right, here, what do we got? We've got some little begonias from Belgium. These are from Verhelle. And these are like the Rex types, but you can grow these indoors or outdoors. This one is actually iridescent as well. We don't see iridescence in many begonias, but in the wild, that is how they get the maximum light when they're on the forest floor. So they're great for indoor, outdoor, and I love a plant like that, which has kind of got that dual purpose as well. Then we've got euphorbias. A lot of new euphorbias coming through, particularly from UK. Look at Ascot Rainbow, for example. Very, very popular plant. I think the consumer really finds euphorbias more and more recognisable as well, and especially with these different coloured leaf forms. Not only great as a border plant, but also in a mixed filler for almost any season of colour as well. Then Calabrahoa. When would you sell a Calabrahoa like this in UK, I wonder? Because sorry? You wouldn't? Yeah, end of May. But here in the Netherlands, they start to sell these from around March, which always blows my mind, but they kind of use them like outdoors on patio tables. And why I've got this here is because we don't do enough with tabletop planting outside. You know, here in the Netherlands, if you go along to a garden centre, maybe later today, they have a lot of these lovely zinc dishes, maybe ready filled with violas or kind of a little bit of muscari this time of year. I think there's real potential in tabletop planting in the UK. And for me, Calabrahoas really are the best plant for that, because they're kind of dinky, they're small, they're cute, and it's an extra place that you can sell plants. Dwarf conifers as well. We all got conned in the 80s with slow growing ones, didn't we? Oops. Right, next up is the modern urban jungle, but not before another fun game.
Yeah.
How many lorries do you think PlantLine have? 10 is not correct. 5 is correct, but I want to give it a bit longer. Right. You can't win yet. Okay, right, you've won. Do you want a hat or a pad and pen? Take a hat. I need one more hat, so I'm going to have to persuade people. It's all right, but it's not that warm. Trying to turn you off it. So don't forget, you can go on that tour to the grower at 3 p.m. You can also grab coffee from almost anywhere. You can get a cappuccino with PlantLine logo on the top, which would be really nice for your Instagram reel that you're going to make today. Because that's your way of thanking companies these days. Do you realise? Yeah. You know it.
Yeah.
And drinking the wine. Are we still friends? Good. Okay. Oh, here we go. This is a plant that Kumar and I bonded over. Yeah. And that is the reason I'm here today. Because he stalked me on social media talking about this plant. Because he was very excited about it. Because, do you know what it is? Well, you can read the label, obviously. It's Lapidaria rosea, and this is the Chilean bell vine, and this is the first commercial production of this climber, which is hardy as well. You can see some of the flowers are on there too. You've got this very distinctive and unusual label where you can pull it upwards and it gives you all of that information. Look at that. I'll do it for that side. Isn't that dynamic? Really, really fun way to not only display a plant with that label, the POS, but also a pretty rare and unusual plant available in those quantities for the very first time, which is super exciting. These are coming through Van der Star, through PlantLine, Lapidaria rosea. Very cool. At Tomsomoga, we used to buy seed of this. There was only one supplier in the world, and we had to write handwritten letters. Can you believe that? How retro. So we're going to see a few more urban jungle plants next, because there's a real movement to these kind of like, I don't know what you call them, like staycation gardens. You know, you go on holiday, you get home, you want to grow some of those plants that you then saw out there. So oleander is a very, very popular one. I don't know if it sells well for you in garden centres, but I work with QVC quite a bit, and this quite a nice kind of impulse purchase thing for QVC, and lots of different colours. Play your cards right, you get the good fragrant ones, the double ones as well. Also Bougainvillea, maybe some of these like shorter ones like Vera, which is the little dwarf one, very nice for impulse purchase for the patio table. You're going to see a few hardy bananas in a moment as well, so you can really get that exotic look, but also in the UK or Northern Europe too. So let's see what's going to come. So we're going to see some new quarter lines in a moment as well. Charlie Boy, we sold that one yet? It's a good one. Hilliers are bringing through quite a few nice quarter lines. So the Hardy Gardenia, Climbs Hardy type, really lovely, Hardy to -5, evergreen as well, and that fragrance is gorgeous. And that is a plant you couldn't imagine it can grow outdoors. Then we've got that Musa, the banana, ever red as well, with the potential to fruit in the UK. It's a Sycamensis type, so it's got that lovely red flash along that foliage. And then quarter lines, lovely wide leaf quarter lines as well, which I think look fantastic. This is almost a ready-made border as well. I don't know, like in your gun sense, you could make tropical border all ready to go. Get that look, because you could also blend this with a few things that are in packs, like dahlias. Some nice exotic coloured dahlias work really nice with the banana. We could also look at maybe some more exotic colours of the gladioli, like I mentioned before. I think there's real potential with this tropical urban space as well. And of course, we're looking at things that are potentially surprisingly hardy too. Like, you could also look out there and get hardy pawpaw, hardy guava. What about the pineapple guava, the Feijoa Sellewiana? Very popular in the last few years, and I don't know if it's a very drought tolerant plant, silver leaf, so it kind of like really looks after itself. But have you ever eaten the flowers? Who said yes? Yeah, they're amazing, aren't they? They're so succulent. Like, we always think eating flowers is a bit stupid, but actually, like, pansies have great levels of vitamin A and C, so it's not so silly. But with the Feijoa, it's really got this crunch to it. It's gorgeous. It's almost like a little sweet, little candy. Really, like a fruit salad. There you go. Well, off to my job then. So our next section, or our next part of this section, is the modern urban jungle. So you're going to see those cord lines. You're going to see Schefflera as well, outdoor Schefflera, Fatsia, lilies, and lemons. Well, actually lime quats, if we're being precise here. So that first one you see is Fatsia. You sell a lot of Fatsia, right? Yeah? Popular. Which ones? Spider's web, probably. Yeah? Or green fingers, or the traditional. It's great. Some people grow it as a house plant, but I find it gets a bit kind of mucky after a while in a house plant. But really, really durable plant, and probably one of the most exotic looking plants you can grow in your border in the UK over the winter that is hardy and easy. It's got this really ethereal, otherworldly look to it. Next up is Schefflera Taiwaniana, which was first brought to prominence by Crook Farm Plants in Wales, and is now in commercial production as well. Again, it's hardy. It looks good, it looks exotic, it's fun. And the cordyline, Charlie Boy, look at how the light is on that. Imagine that with sunlight, gorgeous variety. Rose lilies coming through from Decorum there. Rose lilies, excellent for those who might have allergies to lilies, to the pollen, for example. The fragrance is also more diffused as well. It isn't as heady as a usual oriental lily. And have a look at the different Spanish growers as well that we've got here, where you've got things like limes, lemons, and in this instance, a lime quat as well, which is great impulse purchase and easier to grow in our climates than we often imagine as well. And the opportunity to sell fertilizer on the side. So that is the last one of our modern urban jungle. Next, we've got waterless growing, but I know you're waiting for a game, I can tell. Palpable. So I want to tell you about my wardrobe area, because you laugh at the word palpable. We've got some cool words in UK, honestly. Don't get them in Holland. So, over in the wardrobe area, which I hope you will visit and take some pictures over there, everything is displayed beautifully with moss and all the different trends that you've seen here. Everything from spring excitement through to hedges and wedges, which you're still to see here today. But have a little look over there, have a browse, make sure it's by the coffee, but remember, no coffee after 3 p.m. How many plants do you think we've got displayed over there? Up to 20, up to 50, or up to 100? You won already? No, but I just said to her, like, don't win again, and you then guess, you should guess what she guessed. Say what she said. Oh, well done, man. Pad and pen is available. Oh, you really want a hat? I can tell, yeah. I don't want to break your heart. Oh, thank you. I want you to wear it now. I want you all to wear your hats now. No, I won't pressure you, but I also want you to. Okay, here we go. Waterless growing. What do you think waterless growing is? Sounds crazy. Have you heard of xeriscapes? Xeriscape with an X on the front. Now this is grown without, oh, it's me by the way. Yeah. Not boasting. I modelled for Mangava. Funny about that. So waterless growing is xeriscapes. This is grown without the need for any water. So that is obviously not watering your plants, but also covering the surface of the soil with a mulch. Mulch, another great English word. But a mulch could be bark, it could be chippings, it could be any type of surface that basically keeps the moisture locked in and keeps the weeds down as well. And I think the consumer, this is a great way to grow, because there is nothing worse in the garden than bare soil, because bare soil needs work. Well, it doesn't really need cultivation, but the consumer still cultivates it, hose the weeds out, cover the ground. The weeds won't settle. If you're growing more plants, such as ground cover from the hedges and wedges section, you'll then have less opportunity for those weeds to come through as well. So xeriscapes is really growing without the need for water, that you'll probably realise was made famous by Beth Chatto Gardens down in Essex in the UK too. So a few options for that here. So the first plant is a Mangava. Now Mangava are hybrids between agave, which you'll know if you like tequila, madam. So agave and manfreda. And agave is kind of like this strong, kind of durable plant. Tends to have some spikes on the end, so it's a little bit dangerous. But manfreda is a little bit more of a softer succulent, spots, different stripes on the leaves. They've combined the two, and now we've got a range of about 60 Mangava, which are really collectible. They grow as fast as you water them. So if you don't water them, they stay the same size, which is quite a nice thing to communicate to the consumer as well. And also it's dual purpose. So you can grow these outdoors as well as indoors too. And you can mix them up in your border with your usual Bonariensis, ornamental grasses too. Senecio angel wings, the only plant to appear twice in the show, is here for its like drought tolerant tendencies. Anika xanthus, the kangaroo paw. Quite an interesting plant that is undergoing a lot of development, not just as a border plant, but potentially as a bedding plant. I see potential as a house plant for the really small ones as well. Also being used in floristry more and more. ZZ plant, Zamia cuculus, one of your most durable house plants that you can put in a almost dark room or in an air-conditioned office and it still loves you. And then, of course, olives. There are plenty of olives available in the PlantLine range if you want to go for those. So that is our first section of waterless growing. We've got a few more things to show you as well, including succulents, because when I was a kid, I was collecting succulents. It was always really exciting, this little kind of sweet box of different plants, cacti as well. I don't know if you've seen in the last few years, they released like a what's it called? Shema. There's a cactus that says Shema something, I can't remember the rest. And this was called the rock cactus. And it's this one, you remember the peanut cactus we had as kids? It's like an outdoor form of that. And you can grow it outside because it's hardy. And like in UK, the main thing that kills plants in the winter is the moisture. So if you actually plant this kind of like in a ridge, you've actually got hardy cactus to use outdoors. Also, you know the Apuntia fumifusa? This is a hardy type of Apuntia as well. You can buy that through Fabulous Fat Friends in Belgium as well. Great name for succulent range too. So a few more of those to come. We're going to see a few more succulents and the sempervivums, the chick charms. Have you heard of the chick charms? Have you sold them? Very collectible, really cool plant, especially gold rush too. Oh, we've got a monster on the front. This is like Shrek ears. They're gorgeous. But here are your Shrek, not your Shreks. Here are your sempervivums. So much interest in sempervivums in the last few years. Like, if you'd said to me 20 years ago, I would not have seen potential in sempervivum, would you? It seems such a crazy little niche genus. But in Michigan, Chris Hansen has selected many different types. This is your Gold Rush, super distinctive. We've also got ranges of succulents that are here at the show, available through PlantLine, including relatively new introduction, Echeveria devotion as well. Lovely felted foliage, which is incredibly drought tolerant, and that lovely red tip to that foliage too. The only thing to educate the consumer is don't water your succulents and cacti, between October and April. They end up keep watering them, but they don't need to. One of your most easy to grow plants, and like I say, as a kid, succulents in the little top pots were incredibly attractive to me too. So I thought Anna Wintour's phone would go off, not yours. I'm surprised she's still here. She's always taking a call. So that is our waterless ground. We're getting ready for our final, well, our penultimate section, which is hedges and wedges. Is that a cool phrase? Yeah. Are you getting ready to go? All right, okay, you just get comfier. Yeah. What is the time, by the way? Because there is a bus going at 3. All right, so we've got 11 minutes. Yeah. Is that a dog? Oh, and a husband. I knew which was which. Okay, should we play a game or should we go for the next hedges and wedges? Let's go for hedges and wedges. Let's keep the time going because we're running out of hats. Okay, hedges and wedges. Hedging plants to replace, maybe you want hedging for wildlife, kind of give a bit of privacy, kind of like that living fence, but also wedges, ground cover as well. Have you seen this one? Hydrangea Groundbreaker. It is the hydrangea that broke all the rules. If anyone here knows Alex Schumacher from Living Creations, he is a breeder and selector of brand new hydrangeas, and he will, forgive me for this, he's incredibly anal. So he really wants his hydrangeas to be upright with big, strong stems, big flower heads. And he wasn't compromised on that for many years. Suddenly, in the trials, you get this hydrangea that is much smaller, is kind of floppy, is sitting there like that. It's suddenly a ground cover hydrangea because this can cover 2 square feet on the ground. Almost, you might call this in some ways a bedding hydrangea as well. Multi-flower, so the flowers are smaller, much more frothy, and changing colour through that white to pink to red. So changing colour with the season, not with the soil as well. Great sales around this. This is Groundbreaker Blush, which is the first in the series. There's also a green on the way and a white and potentially a red in the future as well. So Hydrangea Groundbreaker available shortly as well. Gorgeous plant, and again in the Elho. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Bye. And the Elho Vibes container too. So you'll see hydrangea, this paniculata type, never cut them down too early because of course you've still got that froth. You've got, I love when it goes skeletal as well, and that can be covered in frost and snow and still look completely gorgeous as well. So paniculata types also a lot more drought tolerant than your macrophylla types. I think this has got a great future, maybe as a window box alternative as well, as an alternative to pelargoniums, could work nicely. And as we said before, as a bedding plant, I think there might be a bit more pressure on bedding plants over the next few years, like their sustainability, etc. So maybe we're looking at things that perform the same way, like call them the bedding plant that you never need to pull up. Something that behaves in the same way, but kind of just gives you that interest year after year, and with a flowering period of about 5 months as well. So, a few more hedges and wedges before we move on to blooming easy houseplants. Conifers. Why do we overlook conifers? Conifers have got a lot of potential as ground cover as well. Very durable, especially if you've got high traffic areas. Eucalyptus as well, really nice for that kind of like hedging potentially. Also, it's not there on the belt, but I'm going to tell you, I love the new Machelias, the magnolias that can be used for hedging as well. Camellias used as hedging, so many new varieties coming through as well. Carex, great as ground cover, especially in dry shade, moist shade, very durable plant. And then we've got some Luxus too. So this is new types of Lonicera which are available as boxed alternatives, giving you that same look but without the worries that are associated with box. Bear in mind that box used to be PlantLine's top selling plant, but now everything has changed in the market, so you need to find those alternatives. And Prunus Bonaparte, which is a great new Prunus for hedging with a slightly more delicate look and a smaller leaf as well. So that is hedges and wedges, and we're going to move on to blooming easy houseplants, but it's time for our final little game. We're going to talk about Bosco, which is the heart of horticulture in the Netherlands, especially for trees, shrubs, and increasingly more perennials and more annuals as well. So, what do you think the population of Bosco is in the thousands? 50,000 is not correct. It's less than that.
16,000.
20,000, you're very close.
16.
Oh no, you're wrong. Sorry. I don't feel bad that I didn't hear you. There you go, well done, you're getting the hat. She's got the hat, you can share it. Cool. So, Bosco has 17,000 population. It's also got 700 growers. If you get a drone above Boscope, it looks amazing because you've got all these greenhouses, all the water as well. It looks absolutely beautiful. And you've got 17 square miles as well. So it really is the heart of horticulture, and you're here at the new PlantLine facility as well to enjoy all of these growers. Don't forget to visit the wardrobe area. Don't forget to hop on the bus for that little grower tour as well. Here we go, Blooming Easy houseplants, our final section, colour. We don't see enough colour with houseplants. Grow a houseplant that's going to last longer than a bunch of cut flowers, even if it costs £1 more. It's going to give you much more longevity. Cyclamen, first of all. Lots of new types coming through Morel in France, also Schoneveld in the Netherlands. We've got Alucia, first of all. Can be grown indoors or outdoors with many of these different types. Next up, we've got those Touch Me Primulas and the Skilla as well. I think there's a real potential in flowering bulbs for the windowsill. Look up Velphemia as well. I think that's a cracking plant for the windowsill. Also, we've got a new Kalanchoe there called Supernova. This is from Slijkemen, just in the north of Holland, and it is one of the first triple-double Kalanchoe as well. So those flowers are going to last an incredibly long time too. And with Kalanchoe, you don't realise you can grow them very successfully outdoors as well, and they will flower for about 100 days. Then you've got the chrysanthemums. I think we're due a chrysanthemum a revival at some point, and then anthuriums. Consistently more and more breeding in anthuriums, especially for those darker leaf types as well. So that is the end of our blooming houseplant section, and that also brings us to the end of the Catwalk Show. First time we've done anything like this. There aren't people on the catwalk, it's purely about the plants. So I hope you enjoyed seeing a range of different trends here today at the PlantLine event, and I do hope that you'll enjoy browsing for the rest of the day, and that you'll hop on that bus to go on that grower tour as well. Thank you for being a wonderful audience, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.